guys, Modkip here, back again for another video, and today we're doing a type of video that I haven't done in a very long time, mainly because of the, giant hiatus and everything. We are doing a tagging video, yes, when someone tags you and you get a bunch of pointless questions and you read them out. Fun times. But today, this one should be pretty interesting, because I've been tagged by my good friend, Dunte86, also known as Jamal, and he has tagged me in the video game tagging video. So basically, I've got a bunch of questions about video games, which should be quite interesting actually, because I don't really get to talk about video games that often on my channel. It is something I'd like to do eventually, and something I have wanted to do for a very, very long time. But I don't generally get to talk about video games that much, so hopefully the questions in this tagging video will give you a little bit of an overview of what kind of video games I like and stuff. So let's jump right in with the first question here, which is, how old were you when you first started playing video games? Now, when I first started playing video games, I believe I was about 4 years old. Maybe even younger than that. If I remember, it's really hard to remember. I can tell you the first game I ever owned was Rayman 1 for the PS1. And I think I got that when I was about 4, so I think it's probably one of the first games I played. But yeah, I've been playing since I was 4 years old. Now I'm 18, been playing video games for 14 years. It's pretty insane. So the next question is, what is it about video games that you love? And this one's actually really hard to answer because, loads of people out there all love video games for different reasons, and it's really hard to narrow it down. There's a lot of people who play games for story these days. I'm not really one of those people. I play games almost entirely for gameplay. It's all about the challenge, really. I really like challenging games, and when I've overcome, like, a really big challenge in a game, it really gives you a sense of achievement, like, for example, like, if I play a really hard platform game, and, I get to the end of it, I'm like, yes, this was actually really hard to do, and I didn't just sit through 10 hours of cutscene and press X at the right time a couple of times. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up why I love video games, but there's a lot more to it than that. Obviously, I love music, and I love, like, art styles and stuff like that. They're really big for me. The only thing that, doesn't sell a video game to me, if someone says this game has an amazing plot, but not really much else, I'm probably not going to pick it up, because I'd rather just watch a movie. The next question is, can violent and graphic games be a bad influence on people? Now, this was a topic that was really, really big a while back and was massively in the media. It's died down a bit now, and for some reason one about sexism seems to have jumped up instead, I don't know. But, yeah, violent video games. I mean, if you play violent games, you won't suddenly turn into someone who will go outside and shoot someone, or like just start hurting people more than normal. Like, video games can't affect you. There'd have to be something wrong with you mentally if video games were to affect you that much, to change your actions that much. But if you show violent games to kids, like, kids playing Grand Theft Auto and stuff, that might have a bad influence on them, because, it's showing them, more impressionable people, what, bad stuff, basically, which is a little bit hypocritical, because I remember playing GTA San Andreas when I was about 8, so. Next question is, PC or console? Now, I would definitely have to say PC, actually, despite the fact that I don't own one, and the simple reason for that is it's too expensive, but, I've weighed up the advantages and disadvantages, and there are so many advantages to having a PS3? No, I have one of them, and they're pretty good, but not quite as good as a PC. PC, you've got mod support, you've got the best graphics available, the best frame rate available, which will actually improve, how the game plays. You've got massive library of games, you can emulate older games, so, PC I really think is the way forward, and it's definitely the future. Next question is, do you watch Let's Plays on YouTube, and if so, who? Nowadays, the only Let's Player I really still watch, or Let's Players I should say, is Yo Video Games, who is comprised, the most well-known guy in there is Max Dude, who is a big fighting game YouTuber. He does a lot of stuff in fighting games. I really enjoy his videos. And he does a lot of live streams and uploads them on Yo Video Games as Let's Plays afterwards. And they'll play mostly fighting games, but sometimes other stuff related, like for example they play other Capcom games and stuff like Resident Evil and stuff like that. And yeah, they're just pretty fun people to watch. They're pretty funny, and we've got a nice little group there, and they have a dog who's pretty cool as well. Now, I also used to watch Game Grumps. When JonTron was still on Game Grumps, that is literally some of the funniest content that's ever been put on the internet, at least to me personally. I know a lot of people out there don't really find Game Grumps that funny, and, I can see why, but they appealed exactly to my sense of humour when it was John and Aaron. It was unbelievable for me. There was like every single episode made me laugh. Every day when I came home from school or whatever, and there was a new episode of Game Grumps, watch it, laugh my ass off every time. It was so consistently funny. And now John has left because he went to go, work on his own channel and stuff. which is fair enough, and there was probably some drama in there as well, I don't really know about it. But now they've got this new guy, Dan, who, you know, he seems like a cool guy and I really respect him, but he's just not as funny, and I don't really watch it anymore because it stopped making me laugh, to be honest. But, you know, New Game Grumps is okay, but John and Aaron Game Grumps was basically the funniest thing ever on the internet. Next question is, what is your favourite genre of games? Now, I basically have 3 answers for this. Ever since I was a kid, my absolute favourite genre was platformers. I started playing platformers like Mario and stuff, and while normally when people grow up, they get into like shooters and stuff when you're a teenager, but for me, I just kept playing platformers, and I found, more, lesser known platformers, and I started playing loads of platformers and just playing really hard platformers, and then I got really good at platformers, and I still play a lot of platformers today. I still think they're really fun, they're simple, straightforward, but they can still provide lots of challenge, and, they're just simple, that's what I like about them. Conversely, on the other end, my absolute favourite, tied with platformers, my favourite genre is also fighting games. Street Fighter, bit King of Fighters, all stuff like that. One of the reasons I absolutely love fighting games is like the massive skill ceiling on them. Like, you will never be the best at a fighting game, and you can always compare yourself to other people because obviously it's competitive. But like, there is always something you can improve on in a fighting game. In other games, generally you can hit a skill ceiling and you're like, okay, maybe I can shave 0.001 second off my speedrun time at this level or something. But fighting games, there's always something to improve on, there's always something to strive for, and that's what I really like about them. And on top of that, they also let you meet lots of different people. If you like go, for example, when I go to MCM or conventions and stuff, they'll have little Street Fighter 4 things set up, and I can sit down, play some people, talk to them about Street Fighter. It's a lot like how sports work in the real world. For a lot of people, something like football, especially here in the UK, is like a language to everybody. Everyone who plays football, if you have football in common, you have something to talk about. For me, Street Fighter and fighting games, it's a lot like that for me. If someone else plays Street Fighter, I can talk to them, I can talk combos, all this good stuff like that. And it works for basically anyone around the world. It's a universal language type thing. So that's one of the reasons I really, really love fighting games, and especially Street Fighter. Are you an old school gamer, or do you like getting the newest consoles? Now, obviously I do have a Wii U. I don't have a PS4 or Xbox One, so I do like to play new games that come out. But, when I compare myself to a lot of my friends, I buy new games, new releases much, much less frequently. And a lot of the time I actually find myself emulating and, downloading off stuff like Virtual Console older games. Just because they've always appealed to me. Ever since I was about, 10 years old, and the internet, started to become more accessible and stuff, I started looking up what older Nintendo consoles were, because I'd just gone into newer stuff, with Nintendo, and, I found out about, the NES, the Super Nintendo, the N64, and then I went out to Game Station when they would still sell old stuff, and I bought a Nintendo 64, and I played Super Smash Bros. 64, I played Zelda Ocarina of Motherfucking Time. Amazing game. I don't even care if people say it's overrated. And a bunch of older games like that. And also I played sort of ports and stuff. I played the port of Super Mario World on Game Boy Advance, which is my favourite game of all time, by the way, Super Mario World. And then from there I just started looking up older consoles, tracking them down, and playing old games. It seems that most of my favourite games are generally older, so most of the time these days I'm mostly playing games from pre-2000 sort of time. But overall, I am a mix between an old gamer and a new gamer. I'd say I'm mostly an old gamer. Yeah, I don't really like saying that because I wasn't there at the time and it feels less legitimate. For example, Doomsday86, who tagged me in this video, he obviously grew up with an NES and stuff, but for me, that wasn't the case. My first console was a PS1, so I mean, I guess that is kind of retro, but despite the fact that I didn't grow up with them, I do really enjoy these old kind of games, even though it sounds kind of bad because I wasn't there and I sound like one of those kids who's like, oh man, I was born in the wrong generation. But yeah, I don't think that. I'm thankful for being in the internet generation. Internet's helpful. Next question is Nintendo or Sega? Probably Nintendo. I do love them both very much. I love Sonic, Jet Set Radio, a bunch of the stuff Sega's done, House of the Dead, for example, all really, really fun games. But overall, it has to be Nintendo, really. Nintendo my favourite games of all time, a lot of them are Nintendo games. Less nowadays, it has to be said. The Wii U isn't the best. It's probably one of Nintendo's worst consoles, actually, overall. It's got a couple of good games, but, But Nintendo in their sort of glory days, you can match them, really. They were the absolute best. But that said, I do really, really love Sega as well. There's a lot of Sonic games that I really, really like, for example. I mean, that's the most mainstream sort of example, but there you go, yeah, I do love Sonic as well. The next question is, what is your favourite and least favourite video game character? Now, I wrote a bunch for this because I can't narrow it down just to one, although I do know exactly who my least favourite character is, and we'll get on to that. So my favourite characters are probably Ness, obviously, because Ness Mudkip, Ness is the main protagonist from Earthbound. You know, I was introduced to Earthbound because I saw Ness in Smash Bros. I was like, who is this little kid? And I googled it. Played Earthbound, it's cool. And now, I mean, Ness, obviously, in Earthbound, doesn't have that much of a personality. He basically, you know, he likes steak, and that's relatable enough for me. You know, that's relatable enough for me. And of course, I love playing as him in Smash as well. I also really like Dante from Devil May Cry. He's a great character. He's just crazy. You know, he lives a more extreme version of my life. He sits around and eats pizza, but also kills demons. So, like, if you took my life and put demon killing in there, basically I would be Dante, let's be honest. I also really like Wario from Mario. He's just a cheeky motherfucker. He doesn't care. He just beats the shit out of people. It's great. Amazing. Sakura from Street Fighter. She's my main in Street Fighter. She's always been the character I use. Top waifu tier. Did I really say that? But yeah, Sakura's cool. And I also really like Travis Touchdown, who is from a game called No More Heroes, which isn't that well known, but is kind of well known. He's basically just this loud, bombastic otaku motherfucker who cuts people up with a lightsaber. He's a cool guy. I like him. Well, you should really hate him, but he's impossible to hate. You just have to like him, really. He has a cat, you know, I relate to him. Now, my least favourite character definitely would be New Dante. Now, when I said Dante is my favourite character, obviously I'm talking about Dante from Devil May Cry 1 to 4, then there's DMC Devil May Cry, and, he rubs me the wrong way so much it's ridiculous. This new version of Dante, he's just edgy, he swears, he smokes, and he just does everything to try and get that sort of rebellious teenager crowd, which pisses me off so much, you know. It's like, oh yeah, look how cool he is. He wears black and smokes and stuff, and he just really annoys me. And it's like the producer of the game based like the new Dante off of what he wanted to be himself, and it just comes off as really sad. So yeah, fuck New Dante, to be honest. Now, the next question is, are you a Let's Player, and if yes, what influenced you to make a gaming channel? If no, would you ever consider making one? Now, as you guys know, I'm not a Let's Player. And it says I have tried it in the past. I actually did a few episodes of a Super Mario World Let's Play a while back, where I just sat and played Super Mario World, but it didn't really work that well, and the fact of the matter is, if you want to be a good Let's Play, you have to be able to talk non-stop. You always have to have something to talk about. And if you stop talking, then, you know, it's just, you know, someone watching playing a game. You've got to sell your personality, and that's something that's really hard to do. A lot of people think they can do it. I thought I could do it, and I tried it, and then I'm like, no, I'm running out of things to do. I'm just trying to jump on this thing, and then you die, and you go back, and you're on the same thing again, so you don't have anything new to talk about, and it's just the worst thing ever, basically. But doing let's plays with a friend next to you, sort of Game Grumps style, is a lot easier. But again, you know, being successful relies entirely on your personalities and your chemistry. I know, for example, Del, you all know Del, my best mate. You've seen this channel a few times. We've thought about doing let's plays a lot of the times, but you have to be consistent as well, and it's really hard work. Even though it's just sitting and playing in front of a video game, you know, it's a lot of hard work, and it's not really for me, to be honest. Next question is, what is your favourite video game soundtrack? Now, this was the hardest one to narrow down, so I didn't. Again, I just picked a bunch. So, to name some of my favourite game soundtracks, Earthbound, absolutely incredible. A lot of them sound, you know, there's a lot of homages to sort of real songs in there. Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, you know, classic Zelda tunes in there. Jet Set Radio is just the funkiest shit I've ever heard in my life. I've got the soundtrack for that, it's absolutely amazing. Scott Pilgrim, the Scott Pilgrim game on PSN, I know Dune86 actually picked this one as well, was done by a chiptune band called Anamanaguchi, and they sort of mix guitars and old 8-bit sounds, and it sounds really good. Street Fighter Alpha 2, this one in particular because it has some of the best renditions of each character's theme. Street Fighter Alpha 3 actually changed everyone's theme, and I do really actually quite like that soundtrack as well, which I know a lot of people don't, but Street Fighter Alpha 2 was like sort of the definitive Street Fighter for me almost, and it's especially like that in terms of music as well. Then I've got to talk about Sonic. Sonic CD has got I think the best soundtrack of all the classic Sonics. Even though Sonic 3 did have some music by Michael Jackson, so that was really good as well. The Sonic CD has got an incredible soundtrack, and I mean, they did actually change it for the American one. This is one of the few times when, you know, they've taken something from Japan, changed it for America, and it's actually still really good. So I actually really like the American soundtrack and the Japanese soundtrack for Sonic CD. And of course, I also want to talk about Sonic Adventure 2, because that's the game I played when I was about 11 years old or something, you know, and you start the first level, you're like, follow me, set me free, trust me and we will escape from the city, and it's just the best, you know? It's just the best. All those vocal tracks from Sonic Adventure 2 get stuck in my head so much, and they're impossible not to like, even the fucking Knuckles rap. I like the Knuckles rap. fuck you. The next question is any game recommendations. So I'm guessing this is asking me to, you know, recommend some games that I like that people might want to play. Now, obviously, I could recommend, you know, really well-known stuff. For example, the one that would come off the top of my head for that is Super Mario World. That, I think, is probably one of the best platformers ever made, but most people have played it if you're into platformers, to be honest. So, what I did was I picked out a couple of games that are slightly less known. They're not, like, obscure, but not that many people have played them, and I think, you know, definitely they could stand to get more people into them. The first one is Dragon Quest IX. This is one of the best RPGs that came out last gen, full stop. Like, not even best DS RPG or anything like that. Best RPG, full stop. One of the best RPGs that came out last generation. Get to sort of create your own character in that classic Akira Toriyama style, so, you know, obviously that appealed to me quite a bit. And then it's just a classic RPG done, like, exactly right. I mean, it doesn't really do much new, to be honest. It is still a classic RPG, but it's just a classic RPG that's just so well made. It's just so much fun. And you can also link up with your mates and do 2-player and like all run around together, and that's pretty cool as well. Rayman 3. Now, I did mention previously that Rayman was the first game I ever owned, and then I eventually played Rayman 3 later, and this is definitely one of the best 3D platforms out there, I think. A lot of people will say Rayman 2, that is a really, really good game as well, but personally for me, I've always liked Rayman 3 that little bit more. Even if you've already played it and maybe you didn't like it that much, just go back to it, play it again, see if you can appreciate it a little bit more, because I think it's quite an underappreciated game, to be honest, and it's really, really good. And the last one I want to talk about for this is Cave Story. Cave Story is an indie game, like one of the first real indie games that came out in, I think, 2004, so it's 11 years old now. But it was released for free on the internet, made entirely by one guy, took him like 5 years, and it's definitely the best indie game I've ever played, and it's one of the best 2D platformers I've ever played as well. It sort of combines elements of Mega Man and Metroid. There's a lot of sort of backtracking, looking around for things like Metroid, and the shooting kind of works like Mega Man, and the difficulty is a lot like Mega Man. It's really hard as well. But it's just this really, really, and it's got a really good story as well. I can't believe this, you know. It still looks like a, you know, Super Nintendo game kind of, but like, it's got a really, really good story as well that will drag you in. Really good characters, even though I don't even care that much about it. Amazing gameplay, really, really hard, but you know, fair as well. It's just one of the best ones out there, you know. And if you get right to the end, you know, there's more than one ending. One of the endings, in fact, only comes like halfway through the game. But if you want to go for the secret, super duper secret ending, there's a bunch of stuff you got to do. Then you fight this ridiculously hard final boss, which I managed to do after about a million tries. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in video games, but definitely like probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done as well. So yeah, Cave Story, absolutely incredible game. Definitely check that one out. Now the last question is, if you could be a video game character from any game, who would you be? Now this is kind of hard because I mean there's plenty of different angles you can go at this at. I mean, do I just want to pick the one with the coolest powers, or... Yeah, of course I do. I want to be fucking Dante. It's like my life, but with more demon slaying. That's why I like him so much, you know. He eats pizza, kills, you know, demons in ridiculous ways, and he's just a cool guy. Just has a fun old time. That would definitely be Dante. Or Ryu, you know, I could chuck fireballs in, that's always helpful. Anyway, so that sums it up for all those questions, but the last thing I have to do is tag someone else. Now, I don't know how much this person's going to want to do this, but I want to tag Astroignition, also known as James, a good friend of mine. He does a lot of stuff on video games as well, so I think this sort of thing will be right up his alley. So, yes, James, go and do that. And of course, anyone watching this, if you want to answer these questions anyway, you're more than welcome to, you know, go make a video, link it to me on Twitter or something. I'll take a look at it and comment how bad your taste is. I'm joking, I won't do that. Maybe a little bit, but you know. So yeah, that was the tagging video. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will see you all next time.